Today, I would like to talk about an important question for the future. Will artificial intelligence change capitalism? To understand this question, we first need to think about what capitalism is. In simple terms, capitalism is an economic system where businesses produce goods and services in order to make profits. Companies compete with each other, and consumers choose which products they want to buy. For a long time, capitalism has been driven by human decisions. Managers decide what products to make, workers produce those products, and customers decide whether they want to buy them. However, new technologies have always changed how capitalism works. For example, during the Industrial Revolution, machines allowed factories to produce goods much faster than before. This increased productivity and made many products cheaper and more widely available. Later, computers and the internet created new types of businesses. Online companies could reach customers all over the world, and digital platforms allowed information and products to move quickly across global markets. Now, artificial intelligence may create another major change. Unlike traditional machines, AI systems can analyze large amounts of data and learn from patterns. They can make predictions about consumer behavior, market trends, and economic activity. Because of this ability, companies are beginning to use AI in many areas of business. For example, AI can analyze customer data to predict which products will become popular. This allows companies to plan production more efficiently. AI can also help businesses set prices. Some online stores already use dynamic pricing systems that automatically adjust prices depending on demand, competition, and customer behavior. In logistics, AI can optimize delivery routes and supply chains by analyzing traffic patterns, weather conditions, and inventory levels. In financial markets, AI systems can analyze market data and help guide investment decisions. All of these changes suggest that AI could make capitalism more efficient. However, efficiency is not the only issue. AI also raises new questions about the structure of economic power. One concern is that companies with the most data and the most advanced AI systems may gain enormous advantages. Large technology companies already control huge amounts of information about consumer behavior. If AI becomes the key to economic decision-making, these companies could become even more powerful. Another concern involves employment. AI systems can perform certain tasks that were once done by humans. Some people worry that automation could reduce the number of jobs available in the future. At the same time, new technologies often create new types of jobs. In the past, industrialization eliminated some traditional jobs, but also created new industries and professions. The final impact of AI on employment is still uncertain. A third issue involves fairness and responsibility. If important economic decisions are made by AI systems, who should be responsible when those decisions cause harm? For example, if an AI system makes a pricing decision that harms consumers, or if an automated hiring system treats applicants unfairly, determining responsibility may become more complicated. For these reasons, the question, will AI change capitalism, does not have a simple answer. AI will probably make businesses more efficient and allow companies to process information more quickly than ever before. But the future of capitalism will still depend on human choices. Governments, companies, and citizens will need to decide how AI should be used and what rules should guide its development. In conclusion, artificial intelligence has the potential to transform capitalism in important ways. However, technology alone does not determine the future of economic systems. The future will depend on how societies choose to balance innovation, fairness, and responsibility. Understanding this balance will be one of the most important challenges for the next generation.
All right, listeners, today we're stepping into a bigger conversation. Not just about companies, not just about technology, but about the system that shapes how modern economies work. The question on today's track is simple but powerful. Will artificial intelligence change capitalism? Let's start by setting the stage. Capitalism, at its core, is a system built on competition, innovation, and profit. Companies create products and services, consumers choose what to buy, and markets decide which businesses succeed and which ones fail. For centuries, this system has been powered by human decisions. entrepreneurs starting companies, managers making strategies, workers producing goods, and customers voting with their wallets. But technology has always reshaped the way capitalism operates. Think about the Industrial Revolution. When machines entered factories, production speeds exploded. Goods that once took days to make could now be produced in hours. Mass production lowered prices and made products available to millions of people. Then came the Digital Revolution. Computers and the internet allowed companies to operate on a global scale. Online marketplaces connected buyers and sellers across continents. Information moved instantly, and businesses could analyze data in ways that were impossible before. Now we're entering the next phase, artificial intelligence. Unlike traditional software, AI doesn't just follow instructions, it learns from patterns in data. Feed it enough information, and it can identify trends, predict behavior, and even recommend decisions. That ability is beginning to change how businesses operate. For example, many companies already use AI to analyze customer behavior. Algorithms study what people search for, what they click on, and what they buy. Based on those patterns, companies can predict future demand. That prediction influences production. If the system detects rising interest in a certain product, companies can increase inventory before the demand fully appears. AI is also transforming pricing. Online retailers increasingly rely on dynamic pricing systems that adjust prices automatically based on demand, competition, and even time of day. Instead of a manager deciding the price of a product, the algorithm continuously updates it. Logistics is another area where AI is reshaping capitalism. Modern supply chains involve enormous complexity: warehouses, delivery routes, shipping schedules, traffic patterns, weather conditions, and international trade flows. AI systems can analyze these variables and determine the most efficient way to move goods from one place to another. In many industries, the speed of decision-making is now measured in milliseconds. Financial markets are perhaps the most dramatic example. Algorithmic trading systems analyze market signals and execute trades faster than human investors could ever react. Entire investment strategies can now be guided by machine learning models. So if we zoom out for a moment, we begin to see a pattern. Capitalism has always evolved alongside technology. Factories changed production, computers changed information, and now artificial intelligence may change decision-making itself. But every technological shift raises new questions. One concern is economic power. AI systems require enormous amounts of data and computing resources. This means that companies with access to large datasets and advanced infrastructure may gain significant advantages over smaller competitors. In other words, the rise of AI could strengthen the dominance of large technology companies. Another issue involves work. Automation has always changed the job market. Machines replaced some types of manual labor during the Industrial Revolution, while computers replaced certain clerical tasks in the digital age. AI introduces a new twist. It doesn't just automate physical work. It can also automate certain types of cognitive work, analysis, prediction, even parts of decision-making. Some people worry that this could reduce opportunities in certain professions. At the same time, history shows that new technologies often create entirely new industries and careers. The long-term impact of AI on employment is still unfolding. Then there's the question of fairness. AI systems learn from historical data, and historical data often reflects existing inequalities. If those patterns are embedded in AI systems, they could influence hiring decisions, credit evaluations, or pricing strategies in ways that reinforce existing biases. This is why many experts argue that human oversight will remain essential. Technology can optimize systems, but it cannot decide what values a society should prioritize. And that brings us back to our original question. Will AI change capitalism? In some ways, the answer is already yes. AI is accelerating decision-making, transforming logistics, and reshaping how companies interact with customers and markets. But the deeper structure of capitalism, the relationship between technology, markets, and human values, will still depend on choices made by people. Governments will set regulations, companies will design systems, citizens will decide what kind of economy they want to support. Technology can reshape the tools of capitalism, but it cannot determine its moral direction. So here's the takeaway for today's track. Artificial intelligence may become one of the most powerful economic tools ever created. It can analyze information at extraordinary speed, coordinate global systems, and help businesses operate with unprecedented efficiency. But the future of capitalism will not be decided by machines alone. It will be shaped by the decisions humans make about how those machines are used. And that's the rhythm of economic evolution. From factories to computers, from algorithms to artificial intelligence. Capitalism keeps changing, but the responsibility for shaping it still belongs to us. Stay curious, stay thoughtful, and I'll catch you on the next track.
Ladies and gentlemen, today I invite you to consider a question that lies at the intersection of technology, economics, and ethics. Should artificial intelligence control capitalism? At first glance, the question may sound unusual. After all, capitalism has traditionally been understood as a system driven by human decisions, entrepreneurs starting businesses, managers organizing production, workers performing tasks, and consumers choosing among competing products. Yet throughout modern history, the way these decisions are made has been transformed repeatedly by technology. In the early 20th century, Frederick Taylor introduced the principles of scientific management. Taylor believed that work could be analyzed scientifically and redesigned for maximum efficiency. Managers studied tasks carefully and instructed workers to follow the most efficient methods. Henry Ford extended this idea through the assembly line. In Ford's factories, the rhythm of work was determined by machines rather than individual craftsmen. The result was extraordinary productivity and the rise of mass consumption. Later, the Toyota production system introduced a new philosophy: continuous improvement. Workers were encouraged to identify inefficiencies and refine the system itself. In this model, learning and adaptation became central to economic organization. More recently, digital platforms such as Amazon demonstrated how algorithms could coordinate vast systems of commerce. Algorithms analyze customer behavior, predict demand, and manage logistics across global networks. In each of these historical stages, technology changed the structure of capitalism. But an important feature remained constant: humans ultimately made the decisions. Managers designed systems. Executives chose strategies. Governments established rules. Artificial intelligence introduces a different possibility. AI systems can analyze enormous datasets, identify patterns that humans might overlook, and generate predictions about future economic activity. These capabilities allow companies to rely increasingly on AI systems when making decisions about pricing, logistics, hiring, and investment. In some cases, AI does not simply assist decision-making, it begins to guide it. This development raises a profound question. If artificial intelligence becomes more effective than humans at analyzing economic information, should we allow AI systems to guide the operation of capitalism? At first glance, the idea appears attractive. AI systems can process information far more rapidly than human managers. They can detect patterns in complex datasets and adjust strategies in real time. In an increasingly global and interconnected economy, such capabilities promise remarkable efficiency. But efficiency alone cannot determine how economic systems should function. Economic institutions distribute opportunities, resources, and power across society. Decisions about production, employment, and investment affect the lives of millions of people. For this reason, the question of who makes economic decisions is not merely technical. It is deeply moral and political. Consider the issue of accountability. When a human executive makes a harmful decision, we can identify the person responsible and hold them accountable. But when a decision is generated by an AI system trained on vast quantities of data, responsibility becomes less clear. Should responsibility lie with the programmers who designed the algorithm? With the executives who chose to deploy it? Or with the organization that benefits from its operation? The diffusion of responsibility may weaken traditional mechanisms of accountability. A second concern involves fairness. Artificial intelligence systems learn from historical data, and historical data often reflects existing inequalities. If those patterns are embedded in AI systems, automated decision-making could reinforce social biases. Imagine a hiring algorithm trained on past employment data. If the historical data reflects unequal opportunities for certain groups, the system may unintentionally reproduce those inequalities. Efficiency might increase, but fairness could decline. This tension reveals an important truth about economic systems. Markets and technologies do not operate in a moral vacuum. They embody assumptions about what should be valued: efficiency, profit, equality, or stability. If artificial intelligence begins to guide economic decisions, those assumptions will be embedded in algorithms rather than debated openly by citizens and policymakers. A third issue concerns democratic legitimacy. In democratic societies, citizens are expected to participate in shaping the rules that govern economic life. Public debate allows societies to balance competing values such as innovation, fairness, and social welfare. Yet algorithmic decision systems often operate with a level of complexity that is difficult for ordinary citizens, and sometimes even experts, to fully understand. This creates a potential gap between technological power and democratic oversight. The challenge, then, is not simply technological. It is institutional. How can societies ensure that powerful AI systems remain accountable to democratic values? One possibility is to design systems that emphasize transparency and human oversight. AI could serve as a powerful analytical tool while leaving final decisions to human judgment. Another approach involves developing regulatory frameworks that ensure AI systems are evaluated for fairness, safety, and accountability. But these solutions require societies to recognize an important principle. Technology should not determine the values of economic systems. Rather, societies must determine the values that guide the design and use of technology. The rise of artificial intelligence therefore confronts us with a familiar challenge in a new form. Throughout history, technological innovations have expanded human capabilities while simultaneously raising questions about responsibility and justice. Scientific management increased productivity but limited worker autonomy. Mass production lowered costs but simplified work. Continuous improvement empowered workers while demanding constant adaptation. Artificial intelligence now extends this pattern. It offers unprecedented analytical power, but it also challenges traditional ideas about decision-making, responsibility, and democratic participation. In the end, the question before us is not whether artificial intelligence will influence capitalism. That transformation is already underway. The real question is whether societies will allow economic systems to be governed primarily by automated decision-making, or whether human values will continue to guide the design and operation of those systems. Answering that question requires more than technical expertise. It requires moral reflection. And the future of capitalism may depend on how thoughtfully we confront it.